Hello everybody, my name is Zara Chaos, and today we're going to be covering the Noble and Druid Professions. And I hope you enjoy your stay. First off, Noble, quote, while national interest calls on one to forge difficult alliances at times. Alliances with witchers included Morphin Vorhis. Defining skill, notoriety, vigor 0, medical perks none, skills, awareness, a combat skill, deceit, education, grooming and style, human perception, leadership, persuasion, writing, and social etiquette. Out of 5, you get a spoda, fashionable clothing, horse, invisible ink, jewelry, journal with a lock, makeup kit, perfume cologne, secret pocket, and a writing kit. Starting coin, because this is a separate class from a DLC. You learn what their starting coin is. 200 crowns times 2d6. On average, that's 1200. Maximum, that's a little more. Lore bit! Spent the wars watching nobles make alliances and backstab each other, while the ones that did fight got escorted to the battlefield with the best weapons and armor. Suppose that's being too harsh. Not like I haven't met nobles I liked. Plenty of folk with noble titles and whatnot. Difference is the ambition. Is like men at arms. Anybody with a title is an aristocrat, but not every aristocrat's a noble. Real nobles spend all their time improving their status, wining and dining other nobles, improving their valor and whatnot. Some of the best. Some of them use their coin to gather knowledge. Interesting folk, always learning new skills before fitting to the next passion. Got the coin to do it, so why not, I guess. These nobles are always looking to impress with all the knowledge they got and far off items they collect and such. And you got your real leaderly types. The ideal captain for any ship. For all, nobility is supposed to lead the commoners, right? Rarely see these nobles without a few servants around them, providing counsel, entertaining them, or whatnot. Gotta admit, they're damn charismatic, though. Hard to ignore an order from a real dyed-in-the-cloth noble. Lastly, you got your knights. You see, a knight ain't the same as a man-at-arms. Hard to describe the difference, but it's in the training and the head, I think. Knights are cavaliers, not killers. Stalwart sons of bitches, fighting for their countries and their houses. Expert in heavy armor and usually the best damn riders I've ever seen, Now read out notoriety. It's not tied to any stat. So it literally is a flat roll. Nobility, whether earned by noble deeds or conferred by birth, grants a person a grandeur that must be acknowledged. Peasants may curse a noble's name and mock them in the safety of their hovels, but most dare not insult a noble to their face. A noble adds their notoriety value to their reputation score when in their home country or a country allied with their homeland. If a noble travels to a kingdom or territory that is actively at war with, or neutral toward their homeland, they gain only half their notoriety value. So that's why it's not tied to any stat, because it also is rolled with their reputation, which is sort of like in Cyberpunk Red. Reputation is how well known you are, depending on where you are. Now we'll cover your skill tree. Skill trees are tied to your specific profession and can add to what they are. Servants. Your servants are everyman NPCs. When you generate your servants, you can use any combination of the following everyman NPCs. Artisans, laborers, entertainers, or scholars. Your servants do not gain IP and cannot improve their skills. Deceiving experts. If the person you are trying to convince of your expertise has more than 4 points in an appropriate skill, they can add their skill value to their resist coercion check. hosting a festival. The festival is furnished with a full feast, games, and entertainment as appropriate for its function and location. If a noble wishes, they can voluntarily lower their host rank when putting on a festival. The event requires less money, but the DC to refuse an invitation is based on the lowered host rank. Armored buffer damage. If a noble successfully negates a critical wound with armored buffer, they also negate the bonus damage from the critical wound. However, standard weapon damage applies to the noble after their armor sustains damage. Alright, I already read through that one. Because that's the same as what the little box in the skill tree is. So there's 3 different trees: the dilettante, the leader, and the knight. The dilettante gets dabble, expert guise, which is tied to empathy, and host, which is tied to empathy. The leader gains command, which is tied to will, servants, which isn't tied to anything, and estate, which isn't tied to anything. Resolute, which is standalone, Chevalier, which is tied to empathy, and Armored Buffer, which is tied to ref. Now, I'm going to cover how you get into the skill trees when we go into that whole thing. I'm just covering it now so people can see, and so I don't have to go back to this book. And with that, we'll go into Druid. Druids get defining skill, Rite of Oak and Mistletoe. Vigor threshold of 2. 2 novice invocations, 2 novice rituals, and 2 low danger hexes. They gain the skills awareness, endurance, first aid, hex weaving, monster lore, persuasion, ritual crafting, spell crafting, teaching, and wilderness survival. They get a pick of 5 of 100 crowns of components: bedroll, belt pouch, 5 candles, cold weather clothing, a sickle, a druid sickle, numbing herbs times 3, pipe of tobacco, smelling salts times 2, and a staff. Social standing: they're considered equal in Skellige and in rural communities, but are tolerated by other groups and hated and feared by those who hate magic. Now for the lore bit. Life and death entwined as a braid. Pixel 3 eyes. If you talk to a druid, they'll tell you that they're the guardians of nature and the ones who keep balance in all living things. They're empowered by their connection to the natural world to make sure nothing gets out of sorts. Stopping poachers, protecting endangered animals from monsters, helping rebuild after forest fires and whatnot. But that ain't all. I've had my fair share of interactions with druids, and they ain't all the same. Most of the druids you're gonna see are initiates of nature who are settling out, do all the stuff I mentioned before. They're real attuned to the world around them, can call on the forest to do all sorts of magical stuff, read the smallest signs in broken branches and bent grass to learn about intruders, and even make packs of animals to help guide the wilderness. Then you got your sages. These are the druids who study the mystical arts and secrets of their circles. Also, it turns out that they tend to be the ones who interact with other folk the most. You'll find them acting as spiritual guides and counselors for backwoods communities, telling fortunes of rituals of blood and bones, and settling disputes between all manner of folk. I hear the most powerful ones can even change their bodies to be more beast than man, but I ain't seen it. I suppose if you'll live in the wild long enough, you'd go seeking out all sorts of ancient knowledge. It's bound to have some effect on you. The last ones are the ones city folk are the most concerned about. The militant ones. You see, some druids got fed up with being peaceful all the time. Most folks couldn't care less about nature as long as they get theirs. Plus, you gotta deal with all the damn monsters without a place in nature. These militant druids tend to designate an area as their sacred grove, using nature around them to fend off loggers, poachers, and monsters. If that fails, They'll use their magic to grow a beast into a behemoth to run the invaders off. Rite of Oak and Mistletoe, tied to Int. A druid learns very quickly how to harvest magically potent plants and turn them into a powerful focus for their magic, which connects them to the land around them. A druid can take a day and make a Rite of Oak and Mistletoe check against the DC specified to the area in which they find themselves in to harvest the necessary ingredients. If successful, the druid creates the staff, which works only for the druid. The staff functions exactly as a staff, which are core rulebook, page 74, but focus value rises as they improve their rank of Oak and Mistletoe value. Additionally, while the druid is carrying their staff, they gain benefits based on their Rite of Mistletoe value. So next page, we'll go over that, which is in this part of the book. The focus value begins at 1 at level 1 and raises by 1 every 2 levels to a max of 4 at level 7. At level 9, the staff gains the greater focus effect. Additionally, while the druid is carrying their staff, they gain the following benefits based on their Rite of Oak and Mistletoe value. At level 2, the druid ignores all environmental penalties in overgrown or swampy terrain. At level 4, they ignore the penalties for snow and ice conditions. At level 6, they ignore the penalties for extreme heat conditions. Level 8, they ignore all penalties for being underwater. Level 10, they can roll to create a new staff by taking a full round action rather than one day. The DCs to create a staff are 14 when in a forest, 16 when in a swamp, 18 in mountains, and 20 when at sea. So there are 3 different skill trees for the druid: Initiate, Mystic Sage, and Militant. And bonus one, we're going to go to the page 49 for the priest and cover their skill trees for the priest within the Tomb of Chaos. Or Tome of Chaos. The cultist, preacher, and mystagogue. Oh, fanatic. Cultist, preacher, and fanatic. Which is different from the core book. Which they get mystagogue, cult mystery, blessings for cultist. They get divine power, divine authority, and precognition. A fanatic gets blood rituals, fervor, and word of God. And then if I return to the druid, Initiate gets nature attunement, read nature, and animal compact. The sage gets lore keeper, blood and bones, and bestial form. Militant gets beast healer, sacred grove, and grove guardian. And that is it for this video. I hope you enjoy your stay. We will be covering after professions in the core book. So I hope you enjoyed your stay. We will be covering skills and everything else in the next video. I hope you enjoyed your stay. We'll see you next time. Ta-ta and cheers.